Hello and welcome to the Crimson Stitchery. My name is Anushka and you can find me elsewhere online as A Sour Telling. That's A Sour Telling. That's my username on Ravelry and on Instagram. This video today is a short video discussing how I organise my yarn labels. Show notes and links to relevant products mentioned in this video can be found in the down bar down here on YouTube, as is the case for all of my videos. So I'm just coming to you from home as normal, and I've just brewed myself a cup of Indian chai tea and it's pretty hot, and and I've brewed this in a kind of semi-lazy way in that I didn't grind my own spices. I bought a ready-made spice mix from the Indian shop, but it is one step up from, you know, those pre-made chai latte drinks which contain milk powder that you just stir into hot water, or those chai tea syrups that you can also buy and stir into coffee. So it does require a little bit of effort, but it's totally worth it because it's really spicy and delicious. So I'm going to let that cool down while I chat to you, and let me know if you want to see a tutorial about how I prepare my semi-lazy Indian chai tea. Okay, so yarn labels. Obviously most balls of yarn, unless you've bought it on a cone or it's something, you know, that you've acquired secondhand, maybe from a charity shop or as a hand-me-down, most yarns will come with a little label over the top with, you know, the brand, the fibre information, the care information, where it was made, possibly how it was made, the website for the brand, etc, etc. So it's all really great information to hang on to, but I always find that it's like this fine line that I have to draw between keeping stuff that's actually useful and hoarding, which is my pet hate. I do not want to be a hoarder. I live in a small apartment and I don't have space for storage. I do not have any kind of archive anymore. So you could say that there's no need at all to hang on to yarn labels, since there are loads of online databases nowadays, the most obvious example being Ravelry, where you can input all of the data and all of the information about your project into your own project page, and that saves forevermore with loads of links, and it's interactive and you can get all the information that you need. There's also websites like yarnsub.com which detail loads of information about the yarn and also make suggestions about similar yarns from different brands. So they're both really great digital tools to use, and I use them myself. However, there is nothing quite like having your own personal record of the things that you use. Also, if you hang on to the yarn labels, what you can do is hang on to a little snippet of yarn. Even if the knitting project is long gone, or you know, the swatch, you didn't swatch, or you unravelled the swatch, you've still got some records for yourself about the physicality of what the yarn used to be like. So I've tried to keep physical knitting records in various different notebooks in various different guises several times during my long knitting career of, oh gosh, coming up to 15 or so years serious knitting with breaks. And you know, I've been given like specific knitting planning notebooks, craft notebooks and stuff like that, and I'll start filling them out and then my enthusiasm tends to wane, and what I found has worked for me the best has been the most simple solution ever, and that is simply to keep records in one of these notebooks. This is an A5 sized spiral bound notebook, and it's got an A to Z down the side. So this would have been originally intended to be some kind of address book, I guess, for, you know, business or office supply. But it works out perfectly for keeping records of yarn labels. So in theory, you could use any notebook that you want, but I found that this has been the best one for me because the spiral binding, firstly, it allows the pages of the notebook to lie flat, which is really handy when you're like wrangling with yarn labels that get like really curly, or they could be really stiff, or you're just kind of trying to stick down bits of yarn in it neatly and write the information down. It's just handy to be able to have it flat and not have to deal with, you know, when the signature of the books kind of keeps standing up like that and you kind of have to fight it and fold it and push it down. So that just, you know, removes some user error. The second reason that it's quite helpful to have the spiral bound is that the size of the notebook isn't as kind of compact. There's a bit more flexibility in terms of what you can fit in. And you can see that this is sort of being forced open. It's probably about halfway full, or maybe even only a third. And if I wanted to, I could squash it right down flat again using some, you know, heavy books on the top as a weight. But yeah, it makes it quite accessible. This is quite a nice quality spiral bound one, just a common brand, black and red. But the reason that I mention that is that the paper, it's not too thin, and the actual perforations for the spiral binding, then they seem quite strong and they're not too close to the edge. So you've probably experienced in the past that spiral bound notebooks, if you use them quite frequently and turn the pages back and forth, the paper can become quite weak and tear and fall out, but that hasn't been my experience of this brand thus far. So I've been using this system for a couple of years. As I said, it's really working for me. What's key is this A to Z at the side, which in this brand is quite handily organised with the black and the red. Obviously it's their branding too, but you know, it means it's very quick to look at. The only thing that's a little bit annoying is that towards the end, they don't list the end numbers of the alphabet on separate tabs. So you've got U and V that share, and X, Y and Z that share. So I guess that they've assumed that these are the less common names. Also there's an M and an MC, so yeah, it's designed for Scottish people apparently. So arguably not very universal, but this is an old notebook that I fished out of the back of a cupboard, so it's quite possible that you might find something that you know, is a bit more evenly distributed with the letters. So as I said, I keep my system really simple, and I use two colours. So in red I write down the name of the brand, so here is Hietagan, which I've put under H obviously, and then in red also the name of the yarn. So this was Hietagan, this one here, and then Sock 4 was the name of the yarn range. And then after that, I'll write some notes about the project that I used. So here I've written 2.5mm, light grey socks. If I was feeling organised, I would probably put the gauge in, but I'm generally not that organised, or for that kind of specific project stuff, I will go into Ravelry. But this is how I organise and use my yarn label references. And then I'll write a few notes about the knitted fabric that was achieved. So here, lovely and mild. Stitch definition on the lace was fine, so nothing amazing, it was just kind of okay. I'll also write a note about where the yarn came from and where I bought it. So this is Danish yarn that was purchased in Stockholm. And then I also include a little sample of the yarn here so that I can make comparisons in the future, and also so that if I have some kind of weird mystery yarn at some point, something without a label, I've got my own resource of different types of yarns that have been stuck in that I can make a comparison to. So for example, with this yarn, Studio Donegal, I found very interesting because I purchased from a different shop another type of Donegal yarn, and I thought it was the same, and I was really surprised when I looked at the labels and they were from different companies, but I suspect it's from the same mill, so the same original supplier, but kind of purchased by different brands and then repackaged and sold and marketed under separate companies. And because I had this resource here, it's very easy for me to just quickly flip through and find the yarn to make a comparison. Obviously I could have done that by rummaging through my stash, but let's not go there. So yeah, that's my super simple and effective system that I've been doing for 3 or 4 years now. Same notebook, it's working really well. What I tend to do is when I'm finished with a yarn, or say I'm knitting, you know, a larger item like a big garment which has multiple balls, as soon as I'm done with the first ball, as soon as I have the first yarn label available to me, straight away I'll just take some scrap yarn and wind it around the yarn label and just stick it in the notebook in the relevant section. And then every few months when I've got a bit more time, I'll just sit down with some sellotape and some coloured pens and I'll just write down the information about the yarn there. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think of my system. Do you keep hold of physical copies of your yarn labels, or do you just throw them away? I must say that I used to just throw them away because I felt like they just kept accumulating and accumulating, and then I later regretted that I didn't have the physical information to hand. So let me know what you think. Do you bother to do this? Do you have your own system? I'd be really interested to hear what it is. Do give me a thumbs up here on YouTube and subscribe to my channel, The Crimson Stitchery, if you haven't done already. I update the channel with fortnightly knitting podcasts about everything that I've been making and how I live my creative life, where my ambition is to make all the things that are beautiful and useful. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Bye bye.